you talk about Kaduna, you know, you are talking about armed banditry.
It's the same people, because we have, you know, when we have this attack, we used to make this mistake of saying Fulani S-men. You know, that Fulani S-men is the general term for anybody that has from the Fulani stock. But the problem is that we have Fulani bandits. They are not only operating in Nigeria, they are marauding all over West Africa. They just created a lot of problem in Mali, you know, killing over 100 people. It is the same set of people that are now, if we don't take this seriously, they will take over Nigeria. Because they have almost taken over Nigeria. Because they run freely in Zamfara, in Sokoto, in Katsina.
Talking about
that's what I'm saying now. Now they are now in Southwest, and they're almost taking over there because they kidnap people every day. And you see, why it's scary is that when people who are not from a particular geopolitical zone can kidnap people, create bases inside the forests in those areas, and then make people to pay ransom regularly, then we don't have a government. Because government is not only doing roles and paying salaries to civil servants. The primary duty of government is security, protection of life and property. That is the primary duty of government. And if you cannot protect the lives of your citizens, then you have lost your mandate as a government. And that is what we are expressing now, because these bandits are all over the place, and they seem to be having it their way. Because when you see states canceling official programs because of bandits, when you see Nigerians leaving a state to go and live in a neighboring country, when you see people scared to go home, not because of crime, what is happening in the Northeast is not happening in the Southwest. Some people cannot go. When you know that on the stretch of Ibadan to Akure, or when you get to Ekiti, you can be kidnapped along those ways. And it happens every single day. And what is scary is that every time they are moving down, there was a time like that, a top publisher of one of the best business newspapers in this country told me that his uncle was attacked after Ogere. And that is Ogun State. And they have to fly the guy abroad. So it's moving down, and they're running, and it gets to a point that we won't even be able to apply our roads. So government don't seem to realize that we have a major problem.
I had to go to Ekiti State last week, and you know, I was contemplating. I told Jide, what time are we going to move? Where are we going to go through? Do you understand? It's as bad as that. We were timing ourselves.
You are very lucky, because if they kidnap you, I'm sure your TVs have to pay 100 million.
I had a friend who
traveled. Because if they hear that, oh, this is the man, this is the uncle of TBC, they will say very good, 100 million.
I had a friend who traveled last week. He had to go by public transport. He has cars. He was afraid.
That's not even protection.
That is not protection.
No, I know, but at least it shows that he was afraid. It shows the extent to which he was willing to go.
You just have to be lucky to pass through the Ife.
Yes, he was going to Ilesha and
especially the Iwara
area. Yes.
That is a very dangerous part of town, and it's the kidnappers understand the forest better than you and I. You, how many times do you simply move into the forest, moving around?
For what?
They understand the terrain.
No, but
so they understand the terrain. They know where. See, you may boast that you are from the Southwest. This is your community. No. They understand the forest in your community more than you. So they know where to keep you. They know where to keep you away from prying eyes. You see, and it is not everything. When an aircraft, even a reconnaissance aircraft, is ahead, it is not everything that is below that it can pick up.
Especially in this region, yes.
So they can create some form of foliage for themselves so that they can hide the people that they've kidnapped. It's an unfortunate thing. We will not defeat insecurity, because this is not simply a Boko Haram problem. No. We will not defeat insecurity if we do not invest in the police. The police do not have the equipment to address this problem. Look at the Abakari team, for example. They have the best equipment. They've given them.
Special
But what I want to see,
IRT.
the IRT, what I want to see is that at command level,
Yes, we
the
should
police
things
should
like
have the
that.
same equipment.
Something like that.
And do you
Just
know
the
that
same
that
thing.
equipment, when I investigated, is not even more than 26 million? Why don't you get people like Dangote, people like Otedola, and say, look, we can give you tax waiver. Go help us to get this equipment in exchange for tax waiver. You know, after all, we are doing that with Dangote. Is building a cement-based road in Kogi State. We can do that. What is 26 million for those
Lagos
billionaires?
ports.
It's not even up to what they spend on their cars.
Even the government can afford
let
it.
me ask
So the
Those
thing
who cannot tell
is,
me
if
they
you know,
cannot
so
afford
that
to
at
do
command
it.
level, they can all have, they can have that
that kind of
equipment.
gadgets.
When these kidnappings, you know, because when it happens, they will now send details to Abakari in Abuja. He will start looking for how to come and catch those people. Apart from that, apart from Abakari, it is only the RRS in Lagos that has a semblance of that. That's not how to run a police force. You must provide everything that they need. We can bash the army, we can bash the police as much as we want. But do they have the equipment to do the job? Even the army, when you talk about the army, they said they are going to change tactics. I heard the president talking about superior tactics. You can't have superior tactics when your army is static. The army is static because they do not have the kind of equipment that can give them an overwhelming superiority over the enemy. Replace the equipment that we have currently because a lot of them are dead. So this is the thing. Equipment is key. In 2014, late 2014 to 2015, when we got the T-72 Russian tanks, it helped the army to move rapidly and take over all the towns that Boko Haram was occupying at that time, under the leadership of General Lamidi Adeosun. But today, what do we have? A lot of those equipment are even, they are not serviceable anymore. And it's the same problem that the police is facing. Give them equipment. You want the police to parade the east-west road without any vehicle. Police will be hiring rickety buses.
Yes.
For patrol.
Mr. Manager, another angle to it, this insecurity thing is cultism. And we have that in Lagos, Rivers, and some other southern states.
Well, to start with, it's not just Lagos. It's almost the whole of the southwest and parts of the south-south, as you said. And it's another major problem. You know, there was a time that in the Ikorodu side in Lagos, it's almost every day. You saw them. But freely they were operating. Sometimes they would even go to church and pick people up. It was that bad. It was as if you are operating in the failed states. It was as if the police were just helpless. And Lagos is much better because Lagos is investing in security. But even at that, you had that level of... So it shows that all of us, the government must put on the thinking cap, all the levels of government, all the tiers of government, and they have to get the people involved. The people must be at the center of intelligence so that they could move before those people. We should be a step ahead of them. If we are playing catch-up, we will not be able to get anywhere.
Can I have contribution from Wale Adeoye and Tony Waje? What's the microphone? Okay.
Okay. Well, I think I agree with the speakers on the issue of security. One thing I want to add is that when you are talking about kidnapping in the southwest and people are being kept in the forest, I don't think patrols, are enough to get to the root of this kidnapping. If we can employ area surveillance, because when people are being kept in the, deepest part of the forest, just mere walking on the road with police patrols and everything, we will only be lucky if we are able to get one or two of them at a particular time. But because they operate in the deepest part of the forest, we need to employ another strategy which should involve area surveillance. Then I also think on the long run, we are not going to have effective policing as long as we have a centralized policing system. We need to decentralize the police so that community people, local people can be involved because it's their life that is involved. So they also need to be participants. They need to be stakeholders, in terms of getting information and being involved in protecting their communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony?
The problem I have is I'm wondering why the president has refused to change the service chiefs. I have a problem with that. Since July 2015 till now, we're talking about the same thing. They are giving the same report. They meet practically like every 2 weeks. And I wonder what reports they give the president. Because we're not seeing that. We are not seeing this on the street. There must be empirical facts on ground. I mean, each time they meet the president, I wonder, what are the reports they give him? Because we're not seeing anything happening at all. People are being killed. Now it calls for an emergency, and I'm hearing from somewhere that the president is even trying to return these people. It's time to go. We are over 200 million in Nigeria, and we need more. We have capable people who can man our security networks. Not the same. Burata, of course, Burata has tried. The chief of naval staff, Air Force, maybe the police. I can say he can stay because he's still new. But the rest can go. For crying out loud, it's enough. We can keep. Before it was Boko Haram. Now we're talking about banditry. Kidnapping is now the order of day. We are sitting here today. We don't know what's going to be next tomorrow. It's scary. You want to travel, you're thinking of, if you can't afford to fly, you're going to fly, drive on the road. It's annoying. I want the president to address this immediately. We must get this thing sorted.
I was told somebody outside wants to ask a question. Okay, let's have that.
Yes. My name is Kamaude Danjuma.
Okay.
My question, can't we have community police and local police and decentralize the national police? I think that is the best solution for now. So that we, within ourselves, will know each other and we'll be able to know the stranger among us. Especially when the kidnapping and all that is coming to Southwest. We are all fearing and we don't know what next. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think it's the way to go.
It's a matter of amending the Constitution. It's not something that can be done by fiat. Last week, some online media outlets reported that the president had approved state police. And I said he lacks the power to approve state police because the Constitution has to be amended. The Constitution says clearly that there shall be one police. So until we find a way around that, until we get that portion of the Constitution
process of amending that Constitution is just...
We cannot have state police.
Rigid Constitution. So it takes time.
The process is tough.
But if we are
and that's
committed
why
to it,
governments
it is
over the years, you see, the thing at some point, let me tell you, if we even want to do it, we will fail. Just like the local government autonomy. In some states, you see clearly that some houses of assembly will not agree to let it happen.
The governors will tell them,
don't say they can't afford it.
Yes, they will say, no, it will divide the country and all that. You just see that it won't happen.
But I want to make this subject.
I want to take contribution from the audience here inside. Maybe Barrister Ayodro Daye.
I want to say something about the country and security. I think what Babajide said, he hit the nail on the head because we don't have any security. Because people are dying every day. And the idea of Boko Haram being defeated, we have not yet defeated them. We should stop deceiving ourselves. Enough is enough. Let us try and face the truth the way it is. Enough is enough. We have to try and go forward in Nigeria because the way it is, we are still going on the reverse. And we need to apply a solution.
Thank you. One more contribution again?
Good afternoon. Let me first of all thank the panel, the journalists here. For me, I think you are a very successful people that from economy to political to other areas of governance in Nigeria, we have the brain, the resources in this studio, in this station that can help Nigeria. I'm not kidding about it. What you have said so far is what they need. I'm not saying that you should go and join them and become part of them, but I'm saying that they can tap into what you have here and Nigeria will be good for it. On security,
thank you so much.
I think very seriously that.
Thank you.
Bring him.
I was told, my producer just told me that Senator Shehu Sani is in-house. Thank you so much for coming, sir, and I'm sure he'll make his way into the studio.
In the seat.
Please pass the microphone. We're talking about insecurity and how, Mr. President, how we can surmount the security challenges we have. The distinguished Senator, your contribution.
In fact, Brennan Gwari was his constituency.
Okay.
Well, when we're talking about insecurity, it's also dependent on the geopolitical zone that you come from. For example, in the northwestern part of Nigeria, it's about banditry and kidnapping, and in the northeast is the Boko Haram and ISWAP. And north central, apart from headsmen, you have ethno-religious crisis in states of Bauchi, Taraba, and Plateau states, and part of Kaduna state. So specifically for that of the northwest, things have been allowed over the years to degenerate to the very point that we have reached where we are today. And Zamfara became a breeding ground, and it has infected all states within that very zone. And it's reached a certain point that the banditry is moving away from, it started from castle rustling to banditry, and is also assuming an insurgent dimension, because the bandits now are also filming video clips with statements and also posting it on social media. So it's moving away. Yes, it's moving away from banditry to an insurgency. And also they will show leaders and also mimicking the way the Boko Haram used to do their things. They have also moved away now from kidnapping people for ransom to sending messages to villages that this is the amount of money you have to bring, if not, we are coming there. This is what it has become. So as of the North Central, where you have ethno-religious crisis and tribal problems, Jukun thieves, Hausas and Biroms in Plateau, and in southern Kaduna, Fulanis, the Adaras in Kajuru area, that's also a different issue. It needs a conflict resolution approach. Leaders who are presiding over the affairs of those places must demonstrate that they are leaders who will work and ensure equity and justice among people and treat them equitably. That's very important. As of the Northeast, when you talk of an insurgency and ISWAP is involved, then there are forces even outside of the country that control those people who are now involved in that. So the worst thing now is when you have a link between the Boko Haram and the bandits working together, we have a very big problem at hand. So the challenges of security in Nigeria today must be done in such a way that we must reconfigure our security architecture to address the realities of our nation.
I want to thank you so much, distinguished Senator Shehu Sani. When we return, we beam our lights on the state of the economy. Don't go away. It's still the Democracy Day special of Journalist Hangouts. We'll be right back after this time out. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's the Democracy Day special of Journalist Hangouts. We're reaching you live from Television Continental here in Lagos, Nigeria. I have my audience in the studio and I have them also outside the overflow. I appreciate everybody. Well, Emeka Madunagu is joining us and Kolawole Johnson. Thank you for being with us. Economy is the life wire of any country. In the words of former British Prime Minister David Cameron, the economy is the start and the end of everything. You can't have successful education reform or any other reform if you don't have a strong economy. in our collective march to greatness as a country, economy, prosperity, despite abundant human and natural resources, has become something of a mirage. The manufacturing sector is gasping, while agriculture development is at a low ebb. The power supply situation has not improved, and Nigerians continue to wallow in darkness. In his inaugural June 12 speech, President Muhammadu Buhari restates his resolve to take Nigerians out of poverty, but with many analysts considering the economy as his albatross, how well can he steer the country to economic development? Now, Babajide, let me start from you. What's the strategy of this government when it comes to economy? Do we have a direction at all?
Yeah, certainly. The president made it clear that he wanted to focus on agriculture and infrastructure. As far as it's concerned, with improved infrastructure, the economy will grow. So what the government does not want to see is a situation in which we continue to waste precious foreign exchange on things that we can produce in abundance. For example, rice. We have no reason importing rice. And the president has stopped devoting a good chunk of foreign exchange on rice importation. Because Nigeria used to be #1 importer of rice in the world. That has stopped. But the problem with that is that some undesirable elements have decided to divert rice import, Nigeria-bound imported rice, to the ports of Benin. Through the ports of Benin, imported rice comes into our country. We consume, on the average, 6.4 million tons of rice a year. Meanwhile, we produce about 3.1 million tons. So we have a deficit that we need to cover. Importation, illegal importation, has been feeding that deficit. So when they tell you that we no longer we consume 90% of what we produce, it's a lie. Today, Benin Republic is a country of 11 million people, but it is now the #1 importer of rice from Thailand. Thailand is the second greatest exporter of rice. So if Benin Republic has taken over if Benin Republic has become the #1 importer of rice from Thailand, and it is a country of 11 million people, that should tell you that the rice that goes to Benin Republic ends up here in Nigeria. And Asians are involved. Undesirable elements in our own country, our own people are involved in sabotaging the laudable efforts of government. Because government continues to intervene in the agri sectors through the CBN so that we can produce rice in ample quantity. But what is happening? Today, many of those rice mills are shutting down because of massive importation through the land borders into our country. That was why you heard what Dangote said the other day, that with a country, no country can progress with a neighbor like Benin Republic. I once asked Dangote a question in Lagos. I walked up to him. I said, why did you shut down your textile farm in Kano? Because Dangote Textiles used to be the 4th largest textile mill in our country. He looked at me. He said, now I know you hate me. I said, why? He said, because illegal importation of fabrics into the country was rendering their efforts a waste. So in order not in order for the business not to die, he just decided to stop the textile business and focus on food importation.
Kolawole Johnson, a lot of Nigerians will say they're tired of hearing GDP, they're tired of hearing so trillion, so billion naira, that's food on the table. And the poverty rates in Nigeria is in an increase, the level of unemployment and everything. With the strategy the federal government has unfolded and talking about what they are going to do, do you believe that this is going to take us out of the doldrum of poverty?
All right. I think if you call this time a time of evaluation of the government, you may be right. 4 years in power, so you can't sufficiently evaluate the government. When they came in, they brought us a plan named the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. And in that plan, they stated the tools through which they would take the country away from where we were to where we should be, or at least take us from recession, take us from the low, and take us to growth. In that document, there were 5 areas of focus. The first is the small and the medium scale enterprises development, industrialization through that. The second was energy sufficiency. The third was macroeconomic stabilization. Then the fourth was the infrastructure development in the transport sector. Then the last one was food security. Now, if these were what they put on the table to take us further, so I think we should maybe start by scoring them on what they themselves put forward as the plan. And if you look at all of that, what should be the center of all is energy sufficiency. Dangote said some few days ago that a nation that is not producing enough energy to use cannot grow because you need energy to drive your industries. So if our focus, for example, I was talking somewhere and I said the same amount of money that we have spent on transportation industry in terms of bridging the gap on infrastructure. If I were, or if we were to prioritize our goals properly, we might not have spent enough there, because without proper needs assessment, you may not be able to do proper prioritization of what you should do. Now, the needs assessment of the country now says that if you have power first, now if you don't have sufficient maybe infrastructure to drive your product, when you have power, you can have hubs, industrial hubs in areas with existing infrastructure. Example is Lekki Free Trade Zone. For example, Lekki, that zone in 3 years has done over $700 million export of finished product, and they have attracted about $500 million foreign direct investment. Yet we are celebrating 600 million naira generation through trade for 6 months. If I have put $5 billion in a business and all it can get me in a year is, say, $3 million, that's a failure. So for me, I think the government, through what they have put down, if we score them on that, they may need to do far much more. And if you want to drive food security, and today we have the menace of insecurity across the nation. Rice farmers are saying that we may not be able to go to farm again because of insecurity. Farmers in the southwest are running away from farm because of, a friend of the house here, who was a staff of this station, is presently an aide to a governor, and he had a farm, of course, to increase income. And they went to his farm. And see, how can you be feeding your cow in your farm? For me, I have said it before, right on this program, it is both economic and political banditry, not just killing alone. So from the indices that the government has placed on ground, we may need to do much more to get to where we should be. Now, I'll give you some few indices. In 2014, Nigerian economy was growing at about 7.4%, one of the highest in the country. But in 2018, the third quarter or so, we dropped low to 1.9, when Côte d'Ivoire and Co was doing 7%, and Benin Republic, that we just mentioned here, was doing 5%. Ghana was doing 5.4%. So for me, I think the way we are running our economy is, one, we're running as if it's not a business that needs to be done. We are running our economy like NGO.
With a 23% unemployment rate, with 22 trillion naira debt profile. The last time I checked, I don't know what it was in 2015 when they got there, but all I know is that our debt profile is hitting, has 22 trillion naira. What do we make of this? What were we doing, paying salaries with this?
Yeah, the fact of the matter is that, of course, the economy has not been in a very good shape, for some years now. I mean, we've basically depended on oil, and then we've not really deepened other sources of, revenue. Of course, we've been borrowing to augment the deficits we have locally. But the fact of the matter is that we've not also tried to deepen the productive sector to look for other areas where, we can, boost the economy. And what has happened? We keep borrowing from China, borrowing from different sources. And we keep hoping that somehow we'll be able to turn the economy around, the more we borrow. But the fact of the matter is that we must deal with the energy problem. It's a serious issue. Okay, right now, there is an electricity firm that has got, judgments in UK and US courts. $9 billion judgment against Nigeria because they said it was to generate 2,000 megawatts of electricity with wet gas, but it wasn't supplied. And then it went to court. And so it's threatening Nigeria. Now, all of these things show that in governance, the style that is adopted in the way our leaders, in the way those who run the civil service do things in this country, does not help this country. They don't take this country very seriously. And so you would not be surprised that industries are closing down, businesses are closing down, people are losing jobs. You even find in the same economy, okay, for instance, some days ago, NAFDAC increased its rates across board. Hiked its rates. And what do you expect? In the FMCG sector, where you have a lot of Nigerians employed, you are now hiking rates. You are making it difficult for SMEs, for startups, for small companies to be able to, keep running. So what you want to do now is that by hiking these rates, NAFDAC wants to shut SMEs out of business so that it will only be the big players remaining. Why do we keep doing this? Why do we keep doing this? Whereas we find a country like Thailand prioritizing SMEs. We find examples around the world, of countries taking a closer look at small businesses, at how they can make small businesses more effective so that more people can be employed. But here, the reverse is the case.
Julie, one of our problems is this power. But in the last 4 years, have we done something that it shows that the government is serious by turning around that sector to make sure we have constant power supply?
The government has invested so much to freshen up the grid, because for more than 40 years, the grid was abandoned, and the power sector is like a relay. You move from generation to transmission to and then distribution. If one leg is not doing well, you must achieve a kind of equilibrium. If one leg is not doing well, then you'll be in trouble. This year alone, we have had more than 13 system failures. Last year, I think in total, around that figure was what we experienced the whole year.
Last year.
But
this one,
in the
mid-year.
first quarter alone, we've had 13, not less than 13 system failures. That should tell you the extent of the problem. Yes, sometimes like last year, February last year, they were able to move generation, the capacity to 5,000, transmission capacity to 5,222 megawatts. But it crashed the next day. So we are unable to, on a sustainable basis, generate in excess of 4,000 megawatts. Many times in a week, what we just do, we are only able to do 1,500 megawatts. For a country like Nigeria, that is not enough, because we have problems with distribution, we have problems with transmission. So if we have the capacity to generate about 10,000 megawatts, but there's no way the grid, as old as it is currently, can take in what the generating companies have the capacity to generate. It can only take about 5,000 megawatts. And even when we had the 5,222 megawatts in February last year, it didn't last more than 24 hours. Whereas you see a country like South Africa generating in excess of 40,000 megawatts. So I expect this government to look at other sources of power generation, because today, out of the 24 power plants that we have, 21 are gas-fired. They are thermal stations. So, which means that you rely excessively on gas. And anytime you have problem with gas supply, then we experience system failure. So let's look at other sources. There is the Mambila power plant in Taraba that has been there since God knows when. Till today, we have not done anything significant in that area. There's no road that leads to the area. I've been there. No road to the place. Whereas that, at the apogee of its strength, at the height of the rainy season, the Mambila power plant can give you 4,000 megawatts. It can give you 3,600 megawatts on a consistent basis. Alone. And it is not gas-fired. It is hydro. Just the way Brazil relies excessively on hydro from the water from the Amazon River. South Africa relies on coal, largely. So what stops us from looking at alternative sources of power generation and free ourselves from this problem, gas supply today? If anything happens at Atlas Cove, they will not be able to get gas supply across to the power plant, and then we will not have electricity. So this is where we are.
Kolawole, as we're reaching home stretch now, the social intervention program of the federal government, the First Lady actually criticized it some weeks back, and Mrs. Owais replied her that it's because she doesn't know what they're really doing and everything. I don't know how impactful these programs have been. I hear of Trader Money, Anchor Bora's program, and so on. Has this thing made direct impact in the lives of Nigerians?
Well, unfortunately, if you have to argue your case and judge it by yourself, you may be doing a lot of disservice to others. Why did I say that? Those who are involved have told us that, they have told us that they have spent a particular amount, and they have also measured the impact. But we, the beneficiaries, cannot see the impact in the public space. This is one reason why we have advocated for the president to please implement the law on National Procurement Council. Now, what that will do for you, it will ensure that you get value for money. For every single penny we spend that is spent through such a council, it is not just about awarding or about giving out money. Now, also, it is also their job to ensure that you get value for the same service that you said you have offered. Now, for the SIP programs, we have heard figures and numbers. If you say you have touched over 700,000 persons, for example, in some of your programs, that means you have an average of, say, 20,000 per state. And in my state, I cannot even trace 1,000. So what happens to that? The president's wife cannot be lying because she sees what is going on in that place much more than us. For me, I will not condemn the government.
Information from different
Of course, she gets her information. I will not condemn the government that whether they have spent what they have said they spent or not. What I would just say is this. What is the big deal if you avail us the data? If you say you have given 10,000 persons or 30,000 persons empower money. Who are they? Let us know them. I mean, put names. The data can be in the public space so we can know. Put the name of Mr. A from local government B so that we can,
verify.
We can verify if this is true or not. Number two, if it's going to make any impact at all, just like the food, the school feeding program, that was a direct and specific approach to it, that we want to spend some amount of money of the social investment program on school feeding. If you're going to do Empower and others, can we just, like we said, identify sectors that need to be driven? Don't just spread money. This money we are wasting every day can do a lot of things for us. If you have 300 billion naira and you put 50 billion into school feeding program, the rest should not be shared in the marketplace where we cannot even verify those who got it.
Yes.
And even monitor how they spend or how that money will go. Identify sectors that need to be driven either through the macro or the microeconomic sector and drive them. If you are going to put, for example, if in your village, if you have bamboo and the government knows that all it takes to produce toothpick is bamboo, now put a small factory there. It won't cost anything. The next village can do plastic. The bottle that you put the pigs, you can generate economic activities from the rural areas.
Are you feeling the impact of the SIP?
I'm not a beneficiary. I've not got anything.
Is there a market woman?
Do you know any beneficiary around you? Anybody that's
The only
benefited?
time was sometime at Ojota, where I saw some women gathered, and they said they were waiting for trader money people to come. And I was wondering, and the women just appeared not to really believe in what they were asked to wait for. And somebody who is in the market was telling me, don't mind them, that they just collected some money from the women and told them to gather here. That where would the money go to? I think one major problem we have in Nigeria is that we keep throwing money at problems. Any problem comes up, insecurity, we throw money. Anything comes up, we throw money. We don't assess the impact of all the money that we've been throwing since 1960, since independence. We keep throwing more money, believing that it will solve the problem. The basic things, the basic problems are still there. You find some people telling us that a lot of Nigerian graduates are unemployable. But you now have insecurity. Now they are you have a lot of kidnappers. You have insecurity. You have criminals. Now the people you say are unemployable, they have got self-employment in criminal ventures. Instead of you to think creatively how you can engage these people, you find that in India, you find out that the government is trying to deepen the access of the people to education now, so that even elderly people can have access to ICT. Why are we not doing it here? Why are we not getting more and more people educated? Adult education, why are we not pushing money into it to get more people educated? Why are we not getting a lot of these beggars on the street, a lot of these people who are displaced? Why are we not getting them to the farms? Why are we not going into agro-processing? Why would we stop mining coal when we know we have an energy problem? I mean, what kind of advice does the president get from all these people around him? And you find out that the youths remain despondent. And if we don't do something about it, every year, universities, polytechnics, colleges of education, public and private, they keep churning out graduates. And the jobs are not increasing, the jobs are decreasing. Meanwhile, the well-connected people are fixing their children in CBN and in all these places. Yes. Let me tell you something. These people are joking with a time bomb. The day it's going to explode, it will consume them.
Thank you, Emeka. Let me take contribution from Ayo Drojaye, and I think Akinola there to speak. Okay.
Brilliant argument canvas so far. I think from my own assessment of the whole situation, Nigerians don't even believe in Nigeria. That's a fact. Because you need to have a belief in anything you want to fight for. Do we believe in anything made in Nigeria? Because you must have belief, confidence in your product for productivity to grow. Anything made in Nigeria is not appreciated. And that's why I like most people from the East. If all Nigerians are like Igbos, Nigerians will even be more developed than this. And it's a statement of fact. Creativity must be protected. Because let me give you an instance. Nobel laureate and all that, because intellectual property is even another argument, is another area we should look at. the protection of intellectual property and all that. There are sources of income for ideas. Nobel laureate and all that was not given to most of them in Nigeria. Remember Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who of course was given £30,000 of publishing half of a Yellow Sun in the UK. So brain drain is becoming another problem. That is another issue. The best brains leave Nigeria. The best brains leave Nigeria. So again, in the area of investment, because all over the world, the information about Nigeria is not impressive. Nobody invests, whether direct or foreign, when you are not sure of the security or the protection of whatever you want to invest in. So, in my understanding, made in Nigeria is the center of whatever you want to do in terms of product. If you don't believe in made in Nigeria, if you believe in made in abroad, there is going to be a problem.
Thank you so much.
And again, finally, when you stay long in the darkness, you begin to see through the darkness. The issue of power supply. The issue of constancy of power supply must be addressed. I've been privileged to travel several times. When you pray in those countries where there's constant power supply, God answers. So thank you so much.
Okay, Mr. That's a nice one.
Well, my own contribution is that is this issue of insecurity should be addressed frontally. And thank God, my heart is gladdened that we have the necessary people in place now. And they have promised us to hit the ground running. Hit the ground running in the sense that our House of Rep and the Senate, they should pass a bill on this issue of state police. And if they pass the bill, and the State Assembly too should cooperate with them, and if they do that, because I'm from Ife area, I can't go home now. I can't go home. So please, I just want to use this studio medium to help, please, to help us that the new National Assembly should hit the ground running in terms of their legislation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We are reaching home stretch now.
I was going to say something to what he said. I mean, about
please, we're running now.
Brain drain. People live in Nigeria. See, our reward system is poor. The best brains are killed in this country. As a matter of fact, if you are good and you are around the leaders, they ensure that you don't come to you don't come to the front line. So if they will have opportunity elsewhere, why won't they go? Number two, do we believe in made in Nigeria product? Yes, we believe in made in Nigeria product. Why is it? See, if you check the big men, they will not wear those shoes made in Aba. The larger percentage of Nigerians will have them on. Go and check. That is what they wear. That is what they put on. So leave the big men. The market is there in Nigeria once we can create it. The last one I will say is this. A time was that the government muted the idea of sector lab, where you have stakeholders. They sit on critical areas. They sit on a sector. They look at the critical challenges there, and they bring about solutions to those things. What happens to them? We should get that back again.
Emeka, your last take?
No, for me, we must make this country work. We can't continue to dance around it. We must make, and then we need to do something about social security for Nigerians. Nigerians must have a sense of belonging in this country. And the government should invest in schemes that will empower Nigerians economically.
Babaji?
Well, I think that there is something that all of us have refused to talk about, and that is the subsidy of petroleum products. We spend more than 1.4 trillion every year to service, on subsidy. We are actually subsidizing consumption of just 5% of our population, because half of that money is spent in Lagos. So whether we like it or not, today, that Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, all that you need is now up to 200 billion to finish that road. We've been on it now for more than 4 years.
It's the commercial center.
You can't find enough money to fix your infrastructure, but we are spending so much on subsidy. We are subsidizing consumption. We are not subsidizing production. This rice that we are talking about, if we subsidize production of rice sufficiently, even the price of imported rice will crash. But we are not doing that. Every year, we're just wasting money. By the time President Buhari leaves office, he will have spent maybe about 15 trillion on subsidy that the Minister of State continues to call different names. under recovery, or production loss, and all that. But it is subsidy. We can't continue. We will never find enough money to fix infrastructure. We'll be borrowing money from left, right, and center because we refuse to do what we should do.
We have to leave it there. No, Kolawole, we have to. Okay. I really want to appreciate our viewers from, far and wide that they came today. I've a round of applause for everybody. And the people I have right outside at the overflow, thank you for your patience. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank everybody, and it has been a wonderful time out on this Democracy Day special of Journalist Hangouts. We appreciate all our audience, the analysts, and the course of our viewers at home. Of course, our viewers at home. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of the program. You can also watch Journalist Hangouts on our platforms showing on the screen. We are also on YouTube. That's youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. God bless Nigeria.